We're back again, this time looking at the first round of the Frontier League postseason. We have 4 series to look at from across the league. We're going to start by looking at New York and Quebec. First round, game 1. We have a tight one. Each side gets runs across in the first. Quebec opens up the scoring. In their half, a 2-run shot by Apodaca puts up the Boulders in their half of the first. Responding quickly is Quebec to tie it up in the second. We have to skip to the 5th before we have any more action, and that is a Valentine moonshot to the parking lot that puts up Quebec. New York manages to get a couple on and manages to push one across in the 6th. Come the 7th, what do? They load the bases with just one away. This is following Brandon Alleman leaving this one for Gilberto Chu. Doesn't do much and doesn't record an out. Connor Floyd has to come in. He manages to get out of the jam, surrendering only 1 run. Despite having a bases loaded, 1 away situation to deal with, he gets Apodaca and he gets Agresti. 1 via the K, 1 versus just a standard putout. That would be just about all she wrote for the Boulders in this one, though, as it became Quebec's turn to really lean on them. And the usually reliable Cody Reeves has a bad night at the office here, allowing a pair of doubles to tie the game, a LeBrew base hit to put runners at the corners. Emmett Bryce has to come in to try and save this, and frankly, he was not up to the task tonight, as a Mendham base hit gives Quebec the lead. He gets Curion, but unfortunately he walks Gideon and then allows a Kendall Simmons base hit to score another 2 to allow 4 runs to cross the plate in this inning and put this one out of reach. They'll tack on 4 more in the 9th to make this one look worse than it really is. An 11-4 final in Pomona puts the Boulders on the brink of elimination and puts Quebec on the brink of advancing. Then we shift the scene to La Provence. We go up to Quebec for a pitcher's duel. Through 6 innings, we have no runs. Mitchell Sanger threw 5 3-hit innings, and Greg Duncan 3 hits. And instead of 3 Ks, 10 for Duncan. 7 2/3 innings he goes there. Cody Reeves bounces back with a scoreless frame of his own on the New York side. Unfortunately for New York, the 7th inning is where it goes wrong. Aiden Reese appears in this one, and on his 3rd pitch, Kendall Simmons takes him deep. He responds by getting a couple more outs. Grogan then comes in, walks Mendham, allows a double to Valentine, and then a pass ball during the Ruben Castro bat scores David Mendham, who was already on base at that point, before they get Castro via a 6-3 putout to end the inning. But at this point, the damage was done. New York would not generate any offense in this one. Quebec tacks 2 on in the 8th, and what was looking like 2 very promising games results in a disappointing postseason exit for the Boulders. They muster only 3 base runners the whole night. Kendall Simmons plays the unlikely hero in both games to send Quebec to the Atlantic Conference Final, where they would take on the winner of Tri-City and Sussex County, where we shift to next. Again, a pitcher's duel in game number 1 here. Sussex pushes across 1 run in the 3rd before giving 2 back in the 5th and 3 in the 7th for a 5-1 game. However, of those runs that came across, only 3 of them were earned. How do they get those runs? Well, a Will Zimmerman error allowed the leadoff man on in that inning, and from there, the Valley Cats would cruise to a 5-1 victory after tacking 3 more on the bullpen. The scene shifts to Lafayette, New Jersey for the Miners' home playoff game, and through 5 innings, it was not looking good for the Miners. Easton Klein threw a masterclass of 2-hit, 3-walk ball for 5 innings. A 2-run shot from Walters put them up early, and then another run in the 6th inning would make things look a bit desperate for the Miners. A Campo solo shot in the 8th would put up Tri-City 4-0. However, there was Miner magic to be had on this night, and that comes in the bottom half of the 8th here. With 2 outs early in the inning, Dom Johnson manages to get a base hit, infield hit, that will set the scene for Sean Roby, who launches one out of the yard to chase Wes Albert from this game and cut the lead in half. However, Austin Dill wasn't having any more luck. A walk to Guadalupe set up a base hit by Sayer to put 2 on. And then Jordan Smith doubles down the line, scoring Guadalupe. They send Sayer, and despite a close play at the plate, he is out for out number 3, but 3 runs had scored at this point, keeping this one alive. A scoreless ninth set the scene for the Miners' possible comeback. How does that go? With Funmair in this game, Scott Seeker goes down via the strikeout. Kean O'Brien, fly out to right. That brings up Hunter D'Amato, a man that has been having a tough night to this point. An 0-for-4 night to this point with 3 Ks, but was so clutch earlier in this season, earlier in this postseason run. How does he do in this critical moment? Ball, foul, foul, ball, and then down swinging to end the minor season, to end the minor playoff run. And Tri-City survives a nail-biter as they advance to take on Quebec in the Atlantic Conference Final here, where we'll either have Quebec going for championship number 4 or a first-time team in the final. We shift attention now to the West. We will look at Washington and Gateway. And in Game 1, it was a nail-biter. Washington and Gateway trading runs, each getting 1 in the first. Washington gets 2 in the second. Gateway responds with 1 in the second, 1 in the third. We have to skip to the 6th before we have any more action. And that is where in the bottom half of the inning, we see some action from Gateway, and that's an Abdiel Diaz home run with 2 outs here. Again, efficient and moving. A pitcher's duel of sorts. Vale's not a great start from him on the Gateway side, but Galva came in, gave them 5 innings of 2 hit, 7 K ball, and that was critical, and that was honestly the difference, even though things would get a little sketchy later on. Now, at this point, Gateway had only been up 1, because remember, we were just coming out of the 6th, we go to the bottom half of the 7th, and the Grizzlies are looking to add more. And they do manage to add on thanks to Gabe Holt, whose ground rule double scorers Dale Thomas and Cole Brennan, to put them up by now 3 runs. A critical moment in this game because things are about to get interesting. We go to the 9th inning in this game. Peguero in the game. He's working his 2nd inning of relief. And how does this go? Let's look at the 9th. Andrew Check manages to reach on a base hit. They get Caulfield on a flyout. However, Wagner-Lagrange manages to also get a base knock to get 2 on there. At this point, they've seen enough. Keegan Coliff comes into this game. Jeff LeCurry, he goes down quickly. 2 outs. That's all they need to do. They just need 1 more. Charles Mack says, "We're not done here tonight," with a double to left, scoring Check, scoring Lagrange, and putting the game-tying run just a few bags away. Ben Watson at the dish, and after fighting to stay in the at-bat, they get Watson on a 4-3 putout to save the day, and a big win for the Grizzlies at home. The scene now shifts to Washington, Pennsylvania. Things were going to get, unfortunately, very uninteresting, as Washington came out very flat, as Lucas Weinbergs has his way with the Wild Things offense, going 7 strong, allowing but 1 earned, only 5 base runners, and striking out 10. Peguero responds with a strong inning of work. Hickey comes in, gets them 2 outs in the 9th after surrendering 3, and Alex Whaley comes in to slam the door shut. Kobe Foster, a weak outing for him, 5 innings of 4-run ball, and not much else cooking from the bullpen in this one either. Not much going in the way of offense. Many guys that you need to perform, like Caulfield and Check, strike out multiple times, and just generally no big hits either. On the flip side, the Grizzlies had a day. All but 1 batter reaches, and that is how you do it in an elimination game. Grizzlies advance. They wait to see who they advance to play, though, and they would get that answer fairly soon as we go to the Schaumburg Lake Erie series. And in Game 1, it was, as we all thought, a beatdown. Schaumburg starts off the killing in the first with a run. They continue that run with another in the second, 5 in the third, and 1 more in the fourth. Lake Erie has a token run in the 5th to prevent the shutout and 2 more in the 7th to make it look as though like this could be a game still. The Boomers get that run right back in the 8th to make this a 9-3 game. Eisenberg just overmatched in this one, allowing 7 earned in his 3 innings of work. And Cole Cook cruising for the most part in his outing there. And the bullpen doing a solid job, allowing but 1 hit and 1 runner throughout this one here. However, we shift to Schaumburg, Illinois, and maybe the Crushers could find something. And early on, it looked like they did. They had a 3-0 lead going to the bottom half of the 2nd. However, these types of things aren't always meant to last. A double by Craig and a 1-out double by Fedko going the first of the Boomer runs in this one. Shortly thereafter, we would have a sac fly that would score Fedko after Chase Dawson's base hit advanced him. All that would go in this one, though, 2 runs recovered for the Boomers. And it would stay that way for a little bit here. It would be a 3-2 game going into the bottom of the 9th. However, Schaumburg was determined to make sure that was not the final score in this one. Brewer comes in for Sittinger, and he looks good to start. He gets Craig early, then he hits Fedko with a pitch. Michael Gould comes in to run for Fedko, and they get Chase Dawson on a putout for out number 2, which makes this next bit just that much more painful. With 2 outs and Anthony Calarco, the league MVP, at the plate, he gets a base knock to score Michael Gould, and then Nick Podcool steps to the dish and ends the season for the Crushers with a 2-run shot and walk this off. 5-3 final. Boomers win it. Crushers go home. And that completes our set of sweeps. And it's on that note that we now take a look at the second round here. It's going to feature Tri-City and Quebec taking on each other, as well as Gateway and Schaumburg squaring off for a shot at the title here. And both teams evenly matched in both matchups here. You'll see the schedules of when they are playing on the screen, and you will note that the games already occurred for today, and we have more coming later on tomorrow as well. Quickly looking at that as a preview, though, Tri-City and Quebec fairly evenly matched, as we just said. However, Quebec has been here and done this before, and we have learned our lesson on betting against the Capitals in the postseason. September belongs to them. Give me them in 4. Tri-City didn't look like a world beater against Sussex County, and now they're going up against a much more complete and far healthier and deeper team. So we like them in that one. On the flip side, Schaumburg appears to be the better version of Gateway. However, a hotter Gateway team is better than a standard Schaumburg team. If the Grizzlies can manage to come together and have a performance more reminiscent of their Game 2 against Washington rather than their Game 1 against Washington, I would like them in the long run. However, I think Schaumburg in 5 is the way this is going to end, and that is how I see it shaking out. We'll be back again with another recap for you at the end of this round and a preview for you for the Pioneer League coming up soon. But until then, do not forget to play ball.